I don't know why, but when I was watching this movie, I was not expecting it to be about space, like, at all. I know it's called Asteroid City, but I think I just thought it was,
Uh-huh.
like, about this town, and I didn't realize that there was gonna be, like, a spaceship and alien component. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Court.
And hello, Be Critics fam. Welcome to another episode of the Be Critics podcast.
This week's movie is the Wes Anderson movie that came out in 2023. So that should tell you what it is.
Yeah, we're talking about Asteroid City this week.
Woot.
Yes, and it's Liz's first Wes Anderson movie that she's ever
It
seen.
is. And what's really odd is I watched this like when it first came out on streaming and I was like, wow, I really liked this. Like maybe I should watch more and just haven't.
Yeah, well, all of Wes Anderson's movies are, like, kind of random, so that I don't think
Yeah.
I would say any of them are, like, the premise just screams, like, "I have to watch this movie." Like, they're all kind of, like,
Well, The Life
super
Aquatic,
random.
like I've been told I need to watch that. And
I
Grand
actually don't
Budapest
think I've
Hotel.
seen that one. I
But
love Grand Budapest Hotel, as you can tell by my poster over here. I love, like, the aesthetic of that movie.
yeah, he does a really good job with the colors and stuff, like making it like exciting to watch, like visually.
Yeah,
This one specifically is like low key kind of boring, but somehow like totally captivating.
that's how
Like
all
I was
of
like,
his
why
movies
am I
are.
watching this? Like, why
They're
do I like
all
this?
they're all kinda boring, and they're,
Why am I
like,
entertained?
kind of pointless, and this one especially, like, I feel like Wes Anderson, like, made it overly complicated just to prove how pointless it was or something, like, I
Just
don't really
because,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so, I guess sounds like initial reactions of a Wes Anderson movie were that you like it, maybe wanna
Yeah.
watch more. This movie
100% went in ready
specifically.
not to like it. Like, ready to be
Oh,
like, "Wow, I hated that. That was awful." And, like, prove all these people who are Wes Anderson stans just to be like, "I didn't like it, haha, but I did." Sadly.
yeah. I went in very excited because this movie, so I like Wes Anderson movies. And not
Mhm.
all of them, right? Like, I've watched Fantastic Mr. Fox and wasn't, like, blown away by that. Like, so I'm, like, kind of, like, hit or miss with his movies, but some of them I really, really enjoy. So I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I'll probably like this movie," but it has a crazy good cast. So, like,
Mm.
that is kind of what makes this one very, very different, is this huge ensemble cast too, and I was very
Mhm.
excited about that
And you're,
and
like, a
enjoyed
really
it.
big ScarJo fan, so,
Yeah. Yeah, she's good.
like, from the get-go.
Yeah. I I think there's a lot of, like, random people in this movie too, which is fun.
Mhm.
Like, I watched it the first time and didn't realize that Jeff Goldblum is in it and was like,
Oh my god,
"What the heck? Who
obsessed.
was he?" And then somebody
We
said, "Oh,
love
he's the
Jeff
alien."
Goldblum.
And I was like, "What? What do you mean he was the alien? That's absurd."
He's in,
And
like, a
then
grand total of 1.5 seconds of the
yeah.
movie, but
And he doesn't even look like, he's so much older now that, like, he's not super recognizable, I feel like. Did you
I
I mean
recognized him immediately. I was like, "Oh,
oh.
that was Jeff
Oh, I'm just
Goldblum."
totally wrong. I should have known he was in it though because in the opening credits, he's in it. I mean,
His
everybody's in the
name.
opening credits, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, okay, so we like the movie, but it seems that Asteroid City has been neglected from this year's the 2023,
Yeah.
like, awards scene.
It's totally flying under the radar. So we're filming this, like, a month or so before the Oscars, and so far, it hasn't been nominated for anything, like, Academy Awards wise. It hasn't won any awards, but it did get a bunch of nominations during, like, the film festival season, which is interesting. I'm just kind of surprised in general that more that there's not more films that have been nominated for stuff. Like, I feel like it's the same 5 or 6 films that are getting nominated for everything, which is kind of boring. I don't know.
Yeah, that is boring. Yeah, I feel like this one probably deserves to at least be in the conversation for some of
Yeah.
them. I don't think there's any what I will say though is I don't think there's any like performances in this movie that are like amazing.
Oh, I have one that I
Okay.
think would be at least a good nomination. I don't know if he would win, but I thought Jake Ryan was a literal genius in this role. Like he captured the essence of this like super smart, a little bit odd kid just perfectly.
That's actually a very good point. He was really, really good.
Yeah.
I
And I've seen him in
I
other stuff and
totally
he
forgot
that's
about
like not
him.
his demeanor. He's like like
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. I thought he was really great and I was like, "Dang, like this kid is like believable. Like I believe this is who this guy is." And I don't know. I feel like he would be a perfect nomination.
Yeah, I think so. I bet he had like such an incredible experience working on this movie. Like getting to be
Mhm.
with all these incredible actors that are just like
Yeah.
so experienced. Like you just see Steve Carell popping in on like a senior in and like that's
Mhm.
so cool.
Yeah. That is really
It's like
cool.
yeah, it's like when we talked about Harry Potter and like you have all the kid actors and they're
Mhm.
good actors, but then you put them in the room with like the Gary
Alan Rickman.
Oldmans. Yeah, and like that's when stuff gets really good because it almost like
Mhm.
elevated the kids acting. So I feel like he
Yeah.
probably learned a lot from this experience and he held his own with them. He did a good job.
Yeah, he has that whole scene with Scarlett Johansson where it's just the 2 of them in
Mm,
the train car, and I was like, "This is so
yeah.
good." Like, both of them just, like, fabulous. Just, like,
Yeah, like really he really
believable
nailed that
and
like deadpan, like
yeah,
stoic
does
acting.
not care, doesn't get anything, just, like, the facts are the facts and
Yeah, honestly all the kids did. Like that whole thread of the movie where the smart kids are like in a circle playing that game
Mhm.
where they just have to like say people's names and remember them. Like
Sophia
that all
Lillis is in that scene. Let's just put that out there. We just did the Dungeons& and Dragons, and I talked about how much I liked her, and I saw her and I
Yeah.
was like, "Sophia Lillis,
Yeah.
oh
Oh,
my
she is
god."
in that scene. She's so cute.
I know.
There's just like a ridiculous amount of people in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's kinda crazy. Okay, so we'll kinda run through it. So, this movie, we mentioned it came out last year, so it came out in June 2023, and
Mhm.
it's Wes Anderson's, like, latest movie that has come out.
Creation.
Yeah. It has a runtime of an hour, 45 minutes, very respectable length for a movie, I love it.
Respectable.
Mhm. And then it only had a budget of $25 million, which I think
Shocked.
is
I'm shocked.
incredible because of the people that he's able to get to come on these movies. I think people just come on and do them, like, for, like, nothing, basically.
Well, it's incredible publicity. Like, think
Yeah.
about okay, we did this, the TikTok trend, okay? We
Mhm.
partook in it. I'll, like,
Oh,
repost it for
yeah.
everybody.
Oh
Um,
my
but,
gosh.
like, think about the publicity, like, everybody was doing that, and, like, at least 10% of the people that did it had to be like, "Oh, let me go check out this movie that this trend is about." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. That
great
trend
publicity.
is, like, the reason that I kind of, like, love TikTok because I'm like not that trend specifically, but, like, things like that. Like,
Yeah.
nowhere else would that have ever happened. Like, I
Mhm.
just got done listening to Josh Peck's memoir, and
Mhm.
he was a Vine star. Did you know that?
No.
Like,
Is that how
after
he was on Drake and Josh or after Drake and
no,
Josh?
like, it was after Drake and Josh. So
Okay.
he was, like, having trouble getting acting gigs, and he ended up getting, like, famous on Vine, and like, so I've been doing a lot of thinking about Vine and
Uh-huh.
which was a gem, love Vine, but TikTok is so different and, like, we get
Yes.
so much different content, and the Wes Anderson trend was, like, one example of that, where it was just, like, people that probably could care less about Wes Anderson were, like, involved in this
Yeah.
trend. Yeah.
Yes.
But at box office, 54 million globally, so it doubled its money.
Respectable.
I guess that's pretty good. And
I would
then
take it, I mean
yeah, and then, Wes Anderson is a goof, but he worked with, have you seen a picture of him?
Yes, he's creepy.
Yeah, he's a little creepy looking.
I
But
feel
he
like they
worked with
all are. You look at them and you're like, "Oh my god."
yeah, it's okay. Um, and then but I feel like Wes Anderson is such, like, a creative type, like, he's so, like, on the fringe, like, he
Mhm.
looks yeah. He worked with Alexandre Desplat to make the score,
Mm.
which I just think is notable because we recently talked about him on our Harry Potter episode. He has like
Mhm.
a very laundry list of things that he's worked on. If you want to
It
know
always
more
comes
about it, you
back
can
to Harry
listen to that
Potter.
episode.
Like,
Yeah.
all roads lead to Atlanta, all movies lead to Harry Potter. So,
Yeah.
it just is what it
All
is.
roads lead to Atlanta. That's
Yeah.
how the saying goes. Not all roads lead to Rome.
All roads lead to Rome.
Yeah. All roads lead to Atlanta. Did you do that like unironically? You just thought all roads lead to Atlanta. It was the phrase.
No, I couldn't remember which city it was, so I just like picked the first one that came to my mind, and it was Atlanta. So
Not a historic.
all
Trenched
movies
in
lead to Harry
histories.
Potter. That's the important thing we're taking out of this, okay?
Okay, so we mentioned an incredibly notable cast. Wes Anderson
Mhm.
is known for having like recurring cast members in like a lot of his movies, but this is like one of the first ones where I feel like he had like a really, really like ensemble cast of people
Mhm.
who were like the main characters. So we
All of
have
them
Jason,
notable.
yeah, Jason Schwartzman, who plays Augie. Um,
Mhm.
and he is in a lot of Wes Anderson movies. And he actually recently was the Lucky Flickerman in the new Hunger Games movie, who I was like obsessed with.
Courtney loved Lucky Flickerman. She's like so much better than the other guy.
He what I think that was just like I mean, this guy was like a really good actor for it, but I think
Uh-huh.
that it was a lot of the writing of his jokes too. Like they were
Yeah, his jokes were really
hilarious.
good.
Um
It
and
does show his
then
range though from this to that. Like
y-
this is
yeah,
nowhere near.
100%. He goes from being like this stoic man in all of Wes Anderson's movies to like
Mhm.
being the most charismatic person to exist in the Hunger Games movie. So
We
very
love it.
different.
Love that. Great
Then
job, Jason Schwartzman.
we have a huge big name. We have Scarlett Johansson in this movie,
Mhm.
which crazy that they got her and that
Lots of
she was able
screen
to like,
time too.
oh yeah, like be so stoic. She plays Midge in this movie, who's kind of
Mhm.
like a love interest of Augie, sort of. She's like a
She's like a movie star.
a movie star. Yes.
Yeah. So like of course he's interested.
Yes. I mean, and it's ScarJo.
Yeah. She's
Yeah,
gorgeous.
everyone's jealous of Colin Jost out here, so it's fine. Um, Tom Hanks is in this movie. He
He's another
plays
great performance. Like he was perfect.
he actually was a really good performance in this movie, and he had some
Uh-huh.
really, really great line delivery in this movie as
The
well.
timing. It was the
Yeah.
timing.
And one thing I appreciate about him too is he gets a lot of the scenes where he has to interact with the three triplet children, the like 5-year-olds. And I think he does a really good job of like carrying those scenes with those girls because obviously, like, I mean, I thought they were great, but they're children, right? So, like, little children like that,
Yeah.
I feel like the dangerous thing is that they like take you out of the movie. But
Mhm.
I think he did a good job of like keeping it in, keeping everyone in.
Wrangling them in, yeah. I actually made a note about I have whenever I watch a movie, I make a list of things that I'm like, I don't understand or like I'm curious about this. And I
Hmm.
was like, how in the world did they get all three of those little girls on the same page? Like did they just like tell them to start talking like the witch thing? They thought they were witches. Like did they make that up? Like how did they get them to go along with all of this? I'm
I
so
don't know.
intrigued.
That was
So
so cute
intrigued.
though. And like
Yes.
they were able to
He's like,
do the
"Witches in
line
training," and they're
delivery.
like, "Not in training. We are real witches." And he's like, "Okay, these 3 witches."
Do you think maybe because like the way that Wes Anderson's dialogue is written because it's so inorganic, like it's so regimented that it almost made it easier for them to be like, okay, do it on this beat sort of thing
Yeah,
instead of
start
like having to
talking.
like force it to be organic.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but they were great. They were very cute, a nice addition. They didn't
Hmm.
really add a lot, but they were cute, so
No, they didn't really
we'll
add a
allow it.
lot, but that's okay. Um, and then we had like I mean, there's a bunch of people in this movie
Mhm.
that I'm not gonna list. We've got like Bryan Cranston, who plays like the host. We've got Edward Norton, who's a character. Edward Norton's in a lot of his movies too.
Mhm.
But we do have 3 people that are definitely worth mentioning that have like smaller roles. So
Mhm.
Steve Carell is in this movie as the motel manager.
Everything he's in, he's golden. That man.
Is the boy in distress? He's thirsty.
I understand. Would you like orange juice, apple juice, or tomato juice? Oh,
He's
yes, I
very good at that
understand.
role. Yeah, and the guy who's the dad in of that boy who was thirsty, Liev Schreiber. He's a
I don't
big
know who that
actor
is.
too. He
I don't know
plays
who that is.
Ray Donovan in Ray Donovan.
Oh, okay.
It's a
There you
HBO show.
go.
So people like him a lot. And then we have Margot Robbie has a very quick
Mhm.
appearance in this movie. Believe she's
Very
a
quick, very
producer
emotional.
also, but she
Yeah.
plays an actress, and there's like this
She was supposed to
scene
play the
where
mom in the play,
yeah, where her
and
and
they cut her
Jason
lines.
Schwartzman talk, and but I I liked her. She was so good. She's like just such
She's perfect. I love
yeah,
her. She's cute.
she's a Barbie. And then also random, we have Willem Dafoe who's in this
Yeah,
movie
just random
for
like
a few
the side
seconds.
characters of all side character
Yeah.
is Willem Dafoe's character, like, has, like, 2 lines, but you're just like, "Wow, okay, there he is."
And it's like in one of the scenes that's like outside of the main play of the movie.
I
We'll talk about it, but his whole role to me was just confusing. I didn't
don't know.
understand how he fit in very well.
One last thing I'll say before we, like, move on and actually talk about the movie. So I saw that this was originally rated R,
Interesting.
and
Why?
well, because nothing was changed. They just, like, filed an appeal and then got a PG-13 rating. But I think it's because of there's, like, the one scene with the naked woman that's, like, full frontal nudity.
Mm,
So they were gonna rate it R for that.
yeah. And I think a lot of the like implications in this movie, maybe. And they talk a lot about
I don't know.
death and
I personally don't think any kid's gonna want to sit through this movie or, like, they're not even gonna get it, but, like, there's not
yeah.
a lot in it that's, like, inappropriate other than the naked lady, but, like, kids see naked ladies all the time.
Yeah, I don't really know why this would be rated R. I, that's confusing to me. That's an
Yeah,
interesting fact about it.
just a little tidbit.
Yeah, I'm like sitting here thinking very hard about that, and I can't really pinpoint something that
Mhm.
should make it rated R, but I think it's probably more of like the premise and some of the writing and implications within it. Maybe it is just the naked woman.
There's naked
Free
people
the
in, like, every
nipples.
movie these days, like, can't all be rated R, okay?
Yeah.
Alright, so before we dive right on in, we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna say thank you so much for tuning into our episode. Thanks for listening to us. Thanks for supporting us, and, yeah, we love you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We love you. And if you are loving this, the way that you can thank us is by sharing the pod with a friend. And you can
Mhm.
tell them that we come out with new episodes every single Monday.
Every
So, what
Monday.
they should do, and what you should do if you haven't already, is subscribe or follow us wherever you listen or watch. And then definitely make sure to leave ratings and reviews, 5-star reviews. We would love that. And then you can also find us on all of our socials and interact with us, especially on Instagram. We love, love, love building a community of people to talk about movies. That's what we're here for. So definitely
Mhm.
come find us.
Yeah. So we're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at bcriticspodcast. We've got lots of fun content, and we post like our personal lives on there sometimes, which maybe you don't care, but we hope you do. But if you interact with us on social media, it really, really helps us get found by new friends. You can make a new friend. We can make a new friend. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah. Also, check out our new partner, Reload. So,
Yay!
Reload is this app that you can just download on your phone. So, go to the App Store right now, look it up, Reload. It's REELOAD. And what it does is it houses movie reviews and like personalized movie content or movie recommendation content. So, like if you're
Mhm.
somebody like me who like needs a movie recommendation constantly, doesn't know what to watch, where to watch it, you can go on here, you can see where movies are streaming. And then it's also just like a place to build a community and connect with friends and creators that also love movies like us. So we're on there and you can check us out and you can see what movies we're recommending.
Yeah, so be sure to download the app. We'll drop a link in our description below. Download, and when you sign up, use our code bcrit, and then we'll get credit for sending you to the app. But also,
Mm-hmm.
you can follow us. But that's our code again is bcrit. It's BCRIT. B as in B critic, C as in Courtney, R as in review, I as in iconic, and T as in Taylor Swift.
T Swift coming in hot. Be
Swizzle.
crit, people. Okay, I think it's time to get back into the episode.
Okay, setting the scene. So you're watching a TV special about a play set in a one cafe town in the Midwest United States in the 1950s. This family arrives to participate in a youth astronomy convention for one of the children, and a sequence of bizarre events occur.
Okay, that is such a loaded setting of the scene. So this story is kind of like a play within a documentary within a
Within a movie
movie.
that you're
And
watching.
it all kind of makes sense. Like there's a lot of
Mhm.
openness to what's going on constantly because there
Yeah.
will be like conversations where Augie's the actor who plays not the actual not Jason Schwartzman, like Jason Schwartzman's playing an actor who's
Named
playing
Jones.
Augie. Yeah,
He
Jones
plays
is
a
the
character named
actor and
Augie.
then his character is Augie in this play, but then you see Jones have
Interacting with people.
conversations with like the director and like the creator of the play and the
Mhm.
documentary and then I can't ever get straight if he, I guess when he's talking to Bryan Cranston, he's talking about the documentary, and then when he's talking to the director guy, he's talking about the play. But it's all very confusing.
There's it's I think it's yes, confusing is the right word, and confusing on purpose. Like
Yes.
definitely on purpose. It's supposed to be confusing. You're supposed to be like, I don't understand, because no one does. Not even the people in the movie, in the TV special, in the play. Like they don't nobody knows what's going on ever.
Isn't that like a common thread within the movie too? Like nobody understands like what the
Everyone's just
movie's
kind of like,
about.
what's that? What is this? What's
Yeah,
going
I
on?
have
Can someone explain?
a quote written down between Augie and Schubert Green. Augie says, "I still don't understand the play," and Schubert Green says, "Doesn't matter. Just keep telling the story."
Just do it.
Kind of explains this whole movie.
Yeah. Like in a nutshell.
Mhm.
Um, Another part for me that was really like confusing, not confusing, but like I had a hard time discerning whether or not this was like shot on a stage or like in a set, or if it was shot like out in the wild. Like the way that they like played with the colors and the cinematography, it almost looks like unreal,
Mhm.
but they built this little town in Spain. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's
It's,
real.
like,
It's legit.
outside, like, it's a real
Yes.
town.
Yes.
It's kind of a beautiful place in a weird, weird way, and it's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
weird that it's supposed to be set in, like, Arizona, I guess, or, like, Nevada, probably.
Somewhere in the Midwest, I don't know, in the desert.
Yeah. It's just a small rural asteroid city, so I guess it's
Mhm.
a fictional town
Yeah.
somewhere in the US,
But I will
and I
point out they did shoot it, like, in broad daylight. So, they
mm,
had to work around, like, storms. There was, like, a big storm, like, right in the middle of everything. But they shot in sunlight, which I don't know if you've ever taken a picture like outside at noon. The
mhm.
shadows horrendous.
Yeah, I
Literally, you
believe
will
that.
never look uglier than if you take a photo at noon when there's no clouds. Like I promise. And one way that they combated that is they carried these giant white sheets around and would like bounce the sunlight into people's faces to get rid of the shadows.
Oh.
And they just like followed the cameramen around with the big white sheets and like moved the
Sounds like a whole thing. It
I
makes
could
me
not
think
even
of
imagine. Like, that would be so frustrating.
it makes me think of a lot of the problems that they had with Midsommar because that was shot all during the day.
Mhm,
And I think that would create a lot of problems specifically with the cameras and having to make all of that work.
mhm,
And especially too because similar to Midsommar, Wes Anderson was very particular about the colors in this movie. And so he had to keep like the lighting and the color scheme exactly the same
mhm.
for
I
it to be
did
cohesive.
too really enjoy the way the cameras moved around. It's like they
Mhm.
moved the cameras like a human would. So when you like first see the town for the first time, they're like they look one way and then like a noise happens and then they like turn and look the other way and they're just kind of like looking around. And that's what I would do. Like if I was in a new place that looked like Asteroid City, I would be like that was weird kind of thing. And
Yeah.
that's like what you get.
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of Wes Anderson movies are shot. The cameras are very like you can tell you kind of feel like you're looking around
It's
with
like
them.
POV.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
very interesting, especially in this movie, because it's a play within the movie. And
Mhm.
so that's another added component to it is you're almost looking on a set, but you're also watching this movie. So it feels weird to be watching with a POV camera shot and then also be looking at the set of the movie that you're watching. It's
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed is that it cuts in and out of different aspect ratios. So, as confusing as this is supposed to be, they also wanted to make it very clear when they're going between you're watching the play versus you're watching like behind the scenes of the play. And so the
Mhm.
aspect ratio like trims down whenever you go behind the scenes. They also have some black and white that they do, which I think that's like the documentary portion,
Yeah, I
but
think so
they
too.
change the aspect ratio and then they have the black and white scenes, which definitely helps, but still a very confusing film.
Yeah, it did. It definitely helped. And then it also helped that they had the cut title scenes where they would go through the
Mhm.
the acts of the play, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think if they didn't have the aspect ratio difference and they didn't have the black and white for the documentary, I would have had a really hard
Yeah,
time
there's no
distinguishing
way.
those things, especially the
I'd been
first
like,
time I watched
"Who's
it.
this guy? Like, what's
Mhm.
going on here?" Yeah. I think there
Yeah,
was
because
a
there's a lot
lot.
of characters.
And there's a lot stylistically too that number 1 just like is the mark of Wes Anderson, but also like adds to like everything that's going on. So you've got
Mhm.
like, and these ones I think are Wes Anderson. So like Courtney said, I've never watched like this is the only Wes Anderson movie I've ever seen that I know of. Number one, you get like these massive stark contrasts like between things.
Mhm.
You also get like everything looks 2D almost. Like it's very flat. There's not a lot of shadowing. They like
Yeah.
outline things sometimes. Like it just looks like a storyboard almost.
Correct. Like, not a lot of dimension within a scene. Like, it's
Yeah.
very,
Like
very I
all the
agree,
actors
very
like
flat.
standing like in a line, like versus like having them in different locations. Like with Midsommar, we talked a
Yeah.
lot about how they would put actors and actresses in different spots to like help tell the story or like help you feel a different
Yeah.
way. Like the actors and actresses are just like there. It's like very mundane, like just real life what's
Yeah.
happening,
That made me
which
think
is
of,
very different.
Knives Out too, because in Knives Out, Ryan Johnson had the, like where
Mhm.
every scene, every different, like, depth point in the picture, you would have something different, and this is, like, the complete opposite. It's super flat
Yeah.
and super crisp with the colors too.
Yeah. And the acting, like the direction that Wes Anderson gave his actors to be this like very bland and dry, like what's it called when you're like giving
Deadpan.
the line? Like when you're giving the line. I don't know.
Deadpan.
Whatever.
Like a
Yeah, the
deadpan
way
execution or, like,
yeah.
stoic.
Yeah, exactly. The way he's like got them doing that is just like it almost feels like they're rehearsing, that they're not, like, acting, but they are. Like, the fact that they,
Mhm.
like, execute so well, like, is I don't know. It's
Yeah.
very cool for me.
The deadpan humor and the way that the dialogue is written to be very deadpan is very Wes Anderson. Like, people are
Mhm.
having a conversation that would be very animated, I think, in real life, and it's not animated at all. Like, every
Mhm.
conversation between Augie and Scarlett Johansson's character were
Midge.
Midge were just completely deadpan. Like, they were just talking to each
Mhm.
other, and they were talking about like there's a scene where they're upset because Midge's daughter discovered that she's having
Having an affair.
an affair with Jason Schwartzman, and they're just completely non
Not
concerned.
concerned.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just chill. And but they look concerned, but they're not animated. It's just so
No.
delivered so dead.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Another example is when we meet Midge for the first time in the diner and Augie takes a picture of her and you hear the camera click and then her and her daughter just like look over and she goes, "Did you take a picture of me?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"Yes." And then she's like, "Why?" He's like, "Because I wanted to." And she's like, "What are you going to do with it?" And he's like, "Probably going to sell it." And she's like, "Can I see it first?" And he's like, "Of course." Like
Of
it's just,
course.
and like that's like, and normally it would be like, "Did you just take a picture of me?" And he'd
Yeah.
be like, "Yes." Like, you know what I mean? It's just like little things like that. Sorry to
Well,
like
no,
reenact,
that was
but
great. I loved the impressions. I think it's very interesting choices in Wes Anderson movies because he has such deadpan dialogue and stoic dialogue,
Mhm.
but then everything else about, and it's so like flat and two-dimensional like you mentioned, but
Yeah.
everything else is very out there. So the color palette is very unique, right? You see all these like
It's so bright.
pastel bright colors,
Mhm.
and like every single one of his movies is like that, but this movie you get that like turquoisey color and this like
Bright
bright
blue.
mustardy yellow
Yeah.
yellow yeah. And then there's also a lot of quirky costuming choices as well.
Yeah.
So even though the characters are like kind of bland, like their costumes are outrageous.
Yeah. Well, they're supposed to be from
Yeah.
the 50s, and that's like how people dressed in that time. But they are kind of wild. And the like, as soon as the kids get their awards and they wear their little awards around, like it's just the most ridiculous thing ever. Like Sophia Lillis's character in her crown, she's literally wearing a
Mhm.
crown and like the big
It's
red
cute.
sash, or
Mhm.
like it's just like incredible. Like
It's kind of like
so like fantasy almost.
it's kind of like every character is like a caricature of who they're
Yes.
trying to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 One note about the costume designer because she's important. So it's Melina. I'm gonna ruin her name, but Cananero.
Sounds
She
believable.
also did the costuming for Grand Budapest Hotel.
Okay.
So I don't know if you could see that or not, but she's
Yeah.
done like other sci-fi type movies, which I think that came in this a lot. But she did A Clockwork Orange, which is like big on the costuming, and she also did 2001: A Space Odyssey,
Hmm.
which is kind of cool and just
Another
like random
spacey
but
type
very cool.
movie in a weird way.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but when I was watching this movie, I was not expecting it to be about space, like at all. I know it's called Asteroid City, but I think I just thought it was
Uh-huh.
like about this town, and I didn't realize that there was going to be like a spaceship and alien component.
Okay, so I want to talk about my favorite scene because that leads into it
Okay.
very well.
Yeah, let's do
So,
it. We can come
my
back to
favorite
some of the
scene,
stylistic stuff.
I have two, but the first
Okay.
one, they're watching the ellipses, which, okay, first of all,
This
that's
is my
not a
favorite scene
thing.
also. This is what I wrote down.
An ellipses is not a thing, so it's like completely
Yeah.
made up. They get the little three dots. It's just hysterical. And then the alien arrives. And the music in this scene is just like
Mhm.
so perfect. Oh my God. Like,
My
I don't even know how to describe watching that scene for the first time. I was just like
yeah,
in shock.
agreed. I think that scene in and of itself, that scene and then also when the alien comes back, like both of those scenes, they
Mhm.
make this movie. This
Yes.
movie is
It's
kind of
genius.
bland without that, and that addition is so hilarious because you have these characters that have all this like drama going on, and then the alien
Mhm.
comes down and everybody's completely silent and just
Looking at it.
like just out of words, and they're just so like, oh my god, this alien is coming down and is taking the asteroid, oh my god, and they just sit there, and Jason Schwartzman does get a picture, so that's pretty cool. But other than that, so like, and then also about the alien, the way that he looks is insane. This
It's
like
so
tall,
absurd. His
skinny,
giant
he's like
ass
a
eyes.
cartoon kind
They're
of.
so stupid.
I know, but I love it. Like, I wouldn't want it any other way. I think he
No.
is hilarious, but also
Yeah.
believable within the way that this movie is made. He fits.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so, like, back to the style, but still, like, kind of goes with this. The music in this is so well done. So, okay, Hayden
Yeah, I
and
would agree.
I recently, and when I say recently, like, this week, installed surround sound in our bedroom because we
Fancy.
watch a lot of movies up there. And
Yeah.
so we put in surround sound. And so I was like, I'm gonna watch this movie with the surround sound. Like, it's not gonna make any difference, but I'm gonna do it anyways because it's cool. Bro,
Uh-huh.
there is so much background sound. I thought I was going crazy. I was
Oh.
hearing things and I was like, what the fuck was that? And I would like pause the movie and be like, where did that sound come from? Like run around my house trying to find this sound. There's random ass music in the background of this
Yeah.
movie and just like random sounds. Like when Montana walks around, Montana is not wearing spurs. You hear spurs when he walks around. I was like, I thought I was going crazy. I was like, what are all these sounds? So this is just like a little bit of
That's
a
so
warning. If you have
funny.
surround sound, this movie will make you feel like you're insane because
What if
sounds that don't even go.
What a funny side plot with Montana and the teacher and the
Yes.
student that ends up like with the older men, and she's
Oh
like,
my god.
what are you doing over here smoking a cigarette?"
Yeah, what's going on?
Who gave him this cigarette? And they're like, "Oh, he had it."
That's my second favorite scene
Oh,
involving
sorry.
the teacher and everything. Not that one specifically, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
alien song, Dear Alien.
Yes. What a
Dear
random
Alien.
song. It makes
I'm
me
just gonna
think of
say
that kid from Walmart who's like the yodel boy. Do you know who I'm
yes.
talking about?
Or the corn kid on TikTok.
Corn, well, not co I wasn't thinking of Corn Kid, but yes, that it does also fit the vibe.
I think that the world moved on way too quickly from this kid singing this song. Like, I feel like it was a thing for a hot minute and then we just like all forgot about it. And it needs to come
Mhm.
back because that was like literally hilarious.
Maybe it'll come back as a TikTok trend. It could happen.
We could start the trend.
We could. We could. Maybe we should recreate the song.
Oh my god.
I don't know. So stylistically, Wes Anderson does do a couple things in a lot of his movies that he did in this one as well. So we've talked about a
Mhm.
lot of them, but one is recurring themes of love, family, and like dysfunctional families. Like in all of his movies, he has really dysfunctional
Mm.
families. And I feel like
Interesting.
in this one, the main family was kind of like a dysfunctional family because Jason Schwartzman wouldn't like tell his
Well,
kids that his wife died 3 weeks prior.
he was also planning on abandoning them with their
Yeah, was gonna
grandfather.
abandon his children,
Had their
and
mother in a Tupperware container.
and I love when Tom Hanks is like, "I'm not even gonna try to argue this. My daughter's just gonna be in this Tupperware in the ground."
The best is when they like he gets on the phone with the grandpa because he's like they've just like come across this town. Their car is shot, like not
Mhm,
worth anything. And he calls the grandpa and they're having the conversation about like the grandfather never liked him. So Tom Hanks's character never liked Augie.
mhm.
And he's like trying to be
Probably
nice about
deserved.
it. And Augie's like, you thought I wasn't good enough. And he's like, yep, nope, yep, that's exactly it.
Yep.
And they just like move on.
Wow.
Oh my
I
god.
I think talking about this movie, it's so funny. It's just the
Mhm.
whole premise of it, all the dialogue, all the characters. It's very hilarious.
Mhm.
And then I think we talked about all the other stylistic choices, other than maybe like a lot of Wes Anderson movies have a chapter like structure, and this one had a
Oh.
very like clear.
Defined chapters. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot, so we already talked about this movie being like the most confusing thing ever, but there's a lot
Mhm.
that I just like not, it doesn't even confuse me because I can't even begin to like think about it. So I'm
Mhm.
just gonna like list them off real quick.
Okay.
So first of all, everything that happens in this movie is the literal weirdest thing ever. Like it's just
Agreed.
weird. Like everything about it is strange. Um, there's at one point in the movie an audition scene, and then the director and it, the guy he's just cast in this role like decide to make out at the end of it, which okay.
Oh
Um
yeah. That's um oh my god, what's his name? Um
Bill something.
well, is it Bryan Cranston and Edward Norton? No, it's not Bryan Cranston. Yeah, it
Jason
is.
Schwartzman is in that scene.
Okay, then Jason Schwartzman and Edward Norton.
Okay. It's just weird. I don't know. I was like, "Oh, okay, we have no pants now and now we're kissing." That's cool.
Mm, yeah,
Very appropriate.
that is something that I really feel like I can't come up with an explanation for. There's
Yeah.
nothing that it loops back to later in the movie at all.
Nope. Nope.
Nope.
We spent a lot of time talking about the alien, but what's the deal with the literal weirdest looking alien like ever? Like I know what an alien looks like, but not that. Hopefully not that. I don't know. I
I
don't
like
know.
how much chaos the alien causes, though. Like the whole
The
town goes
world
on
like blows
quarantine.
up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's the whole scene where they're like having the conversation about the play, and it's like the if you can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
Mhm.
Makes no sense. Like what uh,
Yeah, where they, like, are, like,
there's
chanting
nothing.
and,
There's,
like,
like,
a
not even
cult
anything to
vibe.
say. Yeah, and they're, like,
Yeah.
all asleep, but they're not asleep, but, like, they ran I don't know. I don't know. And then the last one is the scene with Jake Ryan and Scarlett Johansson. It's, like, very out of place. It's a great scene, like, by itself, great scene, but just, like,
Mhm.
what like, why? Like, what's the purpose of that scene? That's it.
There's a lot of scenes where it doesn't really feel like there's a ton of purpose. I think when you think
Mm-mm.
about them a bit more holistically, they kind of go together because
Mhm.
the movie at least carries a theme throughout, and it carries themes with each of the different characters' stories and arcs, and so that's kinda cool, but there's also a lot of open ends that just never really get closed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
So
all
that
of this like leads us to like the question that everyone's trying to answer, which is like what even is the meaning of this movie? What were they trying to get across? And I think that's kind of the point.
Mhm.
Just like what is the point?
Well, didn't you say that Wes Anderson said this was about COVID?
He kind of said that it goes along with his experience with COVID and like being in a quarantine and stuff. Um
Yeah. I do get that. I do get the vibe because there's this
there's a literal
random ass thing
quarantine,
that pops
but
in, the alien, and it
yeah.
creates so much chaos.
Mhm.
And despite all of these other just random things going on with people's lives, now all of a
Mhm.
sudden you have this quarantine and you have the adults that are kind of like freaking out. And then you have the kids that are like,
Trying to
well,
figure it
let's just
out.
like cause problems and break the system. And
Yeah.
I just maybe that's kind of the point is that during COVID, we all had a quarantine and everybody kind of reacted like everybody kind of lost their minds a little bit for a few years.
Yeah. So when I was watching this movie, I will say I did an extensive amount of research trying to figure out what the meaning of this movie was. But before I did that, because I knew as soon as I went down the rabbit hole that I was going to form a different opinion. So before I did that, I wrote down what I thought the movie meant.
Okay.
And my interpretation of the movie, and some of this might be because my husband says this to me all the time, like if we go to like art, some like an art museum or something, like watch a movie that has no meaning or whatever, I'm always looking for the meaning in something.
Mhm.
And so my thought was like, art doesn't need a meaning. Like you're just supposed to enjoy it. Like life doesn't need a meaning. Like just enjoy it and like spend the time like while you have it kind of thing. Like enjoy it while it's there and just
Yeah.
then just like move on kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that's like what I got out of it. I don't know if
Oh, so
you
you Oh, I see.
yeah.
You kind of said that it has no meaning, and that's the point.
Yeah, that's the point.
Um,
That there is no meaning.
I think I get the COVID vibes. That's the
Okay.
meaning. And I think I kind of did what you said. Like, I read that and I can't unsee it.
Mhm.
But that's
So
the only
I
thing to me that makes sense.
Yeah. So I found a really good article, and we'll put the link down below. So if you guys want to go read it, you can go read it from the source. It's from collider.com. But
Mm.
the the author of this article, it's along the same lines of the COVID thing. But pretty much what they said is what it means to find yourself in an uncertain world that seems to have spun off its axis. So
Yeah.
like everything's kind of going crazy and you're just kind of like there and you're uncertain and you're alone, and like all the feelings that you're feeling like while this is going on, you have those same feelings while you're watching this movie.
Oh, I 100% get that. And people are doing things that are nonsensical and
Like
that
putting
just,
your hand on a panini press for no
yeah.
reason.
And you see it happen and you're distressed about it, but you're thinking, why did that just
There's nothing you can
happen?
do either.
And yeah, and it's so out of your control. This movie does feel very
Mhm.
out of your control because things are happening and you're like, why? And you just have to watch it.
Yeah. There's another quote from the same article where, and they said, like, pretty much you can do all these things to try and make sense of life in the world that we live in, but you're always going to be faced with questions you can't answer and truths you can't swallow. So that's like sums up very well like everything that
Yeah.
we've been saying about what this movie is. So it's a pretty special movie. Um especially if you are able to gather like all of this from that movie, from this movie that makes no sense, and like we're
Mhm.
all able to like understand the meaning of the movie. Like that's pretty cool, pretty
Yeah.
special.
And I think even the ending captures that as well. So Woodrow gets the scholarship and
Hmm.
then his dad and grandfather are like, "Well, what are you going to do with that scholarship?" They just like give you the check and he's like, "I think I'm going to buy something for my girlfriend."
For no reason, just just because I
And they don't
can.
say anything. They just are like,
Like
"Okay, this
okay.
is out of our control. Everything's out of our control. We're just going."
Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. We should rate it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, so as a reminder, we rate all of our movies through Letterboxd 0 to 5 stars.
Hmm.
You want to go first?
Okay. I give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed watching this movie. I thought it was funny. I thought it was really pretty. I liked the performances. I've
Mhm.
now watched it, I think, 3 times, which,
Oh.
like, I don't rewatch movies very often. So,
I
yeah.
feel like you've said that a few times in recent history, so maybe you're becoming a movie rewatcher. Ah.
Maybe one of those people watches the
I'm one
same
of those
10
people.
movies
No
all the
shame, no
time.
shame. I go to movies all the time, and I'll go, like, the same weekend to the same movie, like, literally. It's so strange. Um, I also gave this movie a 4 star, so we are
Hey, look at
aligned.
that.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen often, okay? It's happened,
No.
like, only a couple times on this show that we've given the same rating, so
Mhm. I
nothing
think this
is
movie
true.
too is like it's very memorable. Like sitting here and talking about it and like reading through quotes and stuff online, I can remember every single moment these quotes were executed in the movie. It's so
Mhm.
random and funny. And I think that's important for a movie to be highly rated.
Yep.
Mhm.
Alright, so we got some write-ins from all of you lovely people, and I'm going to share a few.
Cool.
Uh, so the first one comes from our good friend Ross, who if you are a day one B Critics stan, you know that he was on our Spider-Man episode. Ross said this is a top 5 movie of the year. That's pretty big.
That is big, and it wasn't even on the awards list, so that's a
I
shame.
know. What the heck are these awards people doing? I will also say Saltburn's not on many of the awards lists either. So
I don't think Saltburn really. I think
Courtney?
that's okay. I liked Saltburn. That's one of those movies that I went and saw 2 times in the same weekend, so obviously I liked it. I don't know if I'm as upset that it's not in the awards.
I just feel like there were some really good. This is like has nothing to do with this movie. There were some really, really good performances in
There
Saltburn that
were
I just
good
can't believe that
performances in
they're
that
not even
movie.
nominated. You know, like I think the only person who's been nominated was the mom.
They're all
I
paid
can't remember.
off. It's fine.
Okay, the next one is from
Not
Hayden
entertaining, that comment.
because Hayden always writes in,
Yes.
and I usually share what he has to say because he's funny. But he
It's
said,
funny.
"Alien Encounter is best 5 minutes of cinema of all time."
Okay, I will say that is a quality 5 minutes of cinema.
Iconic. Iconic.
Very iconic. I could watch that. Like, I could, like, YouTube that and watch it. That could be, like, a
Yeah.
thing I do.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. So we got a write-in from this person again who I don't know what your thing stands for. I got to go figure that out, but it's IKMAYD. IKMAYD. And they said, "Wonderful reflection on grief and our role in the grand play of life. Special movie." I think we agree with
Wow,
that.
that's really deep and insightful.
I
I
know.
didn't think about it that deeply, but I totally see how you could.
Courtney's like, "I like the alien."
Yeah, I
The
did
alien
like
was
the alien,
great.
and I like that it didn't make any sense and everybody was just being weird.
Okay, and the last one I have is from an account called Andrew Corns, Andrew.corns. And they said, "Good, not great, Wes Anderson. Aesthetically pleasing for sure." So
I will agree, I think there's better Wes Anderson movies.
I've got to
So,
start watching some Wes Anderson then, I guess.
yeah, you gotta figure out which ones you like. Yeah. You should watch Moonrise Kingdom, that one's a good one too.
Okay, I've got 3 on my list: Life Aquatic, Grand Budapest Hotel, and Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah, good picks.
Yeet.
Okay. Do you want me to read the internet thoughts?
Sure. Yeah. What does the
Ratings?
world think?
So, the Letterboxd average for this movie is 3.6 out of 5, which
It's kind of
okay,
low,
fine.
but that's okay.
Kinda low.
Whatever.
There's always gonna be people who, like, don't like this kind of thing, you know?
This got
Like,
so many low scores across the board. I've been appalled a lot recently, but I'm appalled at these ratings.
I'm not
But
appalled because
continue.
I think this kind of movie, a Wes Anderson movie, isn't for everybody. Certain people like them, and then certain people don't, and that's
I feel like
fine.
there's
You
just
don't have to like
haters
it.
out there that like
Yeah.
wanted to not like the movie, so they didn't.
Mm, I mean,
Whatever.
it's
Whatever.
just not everyone's
Continue.
cup of tea. The
It's
tomato
fine.
meter was 75%, which is pretty good, but the audience score was 62% because there's haters. And then
Hater.
IMDb was 6.5 out of 10. So everything is tracking.
Again with the
64% of Google
haters.
users like the movie.
Haters. All the
Yeah,
haters.
haters. I thought we were taking Google users out of this.
Well,
We don't need them.
okay, we were, but then I got a different answer. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I should. I
Mm.
don't know. I'll take it out. It's done. We're done with Google.
We can keep it
We
in
have a
there. It's
love-hate
curious.
relationship with Google.
Okay. Well, if you love reviewing movies like us, maybe you should check us out on Lala.
Or just check. I'll do that one. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know
Sorry
how to
about
do
that.
that ad. Sorry.
Okay. So if you are a watcher of the B Critics or listener, you know that we love to review movies. We do it all the time. We review movies in our episodes. It's literally all we do. And if you also love to review movies, you should definitely check out this new company called Lala. They it's just kind of like a community for people who love to talk about movies, but then they also have a rewards platform. So if you review movies and talk to people about movies, you get rewards. And it's just a great way to take what you're doing for free and like earn something out of it. They have rewards like movie tickets or some merchandise for your favorite movies or whatever, you can go and check it out. We'll drop a link to Lala in our show notes. We'll have lots of links in the show notes this week, but that's okay.
Yeah. If you're like us and you go see 3 movies a week or you watch 3 movies a week at home, like definitely participate with Lala and get some rewards for it. It's like
Yeah.
free gifts, free
So free
money, things you should be just already doing.
Okay. So that's
I
it
think
for
that's it.
our Asteroid City episode. Next week, we're going to be talking about Interstellar, which I'm very excited about. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it now.
I'm very excited to rewatch. It'll be a different vibe than Asteroid City with a Christopher Nolan movie. Also a space
Very
movie.
different vibes. Very, yeah. Serious
Yeah.
versus very unserious.
So go watch it and get ready, and be sure to subscribe and follow us so that you don't miss it. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.
All right. That's it. We'll see y'all next Monday.
Bye, guys.